Come on, computer, don't play around with me right now. Just go live. There we go.
No.
There we go, bro. These Macs, man. I'm telling you, bro. I can't handle them sometimes. But anything's gonna work. Here we.
So uncivilized.
I should be unmuted in a second. Hold on. Hold on.
There
Am
he
I
is.
am I muted now?
You're unmuted. You're good. We
Well,
got you.
yeah. So as you can tell, my computer is acting foolish. It's been doing this for 2 days. It's a Mac Apple. I swear to God, man. Like I just want to slap everybody at customer service, for this. But we'll figure it out in the end. Thank you for everybody being here, man, and bearing with us. Been a couple of technical difficulties, but we'll get through it. We'll barrel through it. Anyway, you know what it is. Thursday night, Uncivilized Scoundrels. Where else would you want to be than right here with us? So thank you for basically being here with us tonight. It's going to be a great show. We're going to go over both episodes 5 and 6 of Andor. I hope you enjoyed as much as I have. Again, I'm going to start this by saying my own personal opinion. This is nothing against everybody else's opinion, but my own personal opinion based on my preference and what I want to see and what I want out of a show. I have now placed this show ahead of Mando. That's just my opinion.
Wow.
Just my opinion. And the reason why is because I am all about dialogue. I am all about character development. Even though we get that, and it's not taken away from Mando, because I love Mando. But I like the stakes in this show. I like the realism, the feel of that realism in this particular show. So I would say that they were a tie, but this slightly edged it out, especially after this last episode. I love Andor. I mean, I don't even know why I would even doubt it. Consider the simple fact that I love Rogue One. I love this show. I love everything about it. You get invested in these characters to the point that when you lose them, it's like, damn, what? Really? I wanted more. And I got a lot, but I wanted more. But anyway, I love this show. Be interesting to find out what everybody else thinks so far, but we're going to jump into that. Thanks for everybody who is attending tonight. There'll be probably more dipping in here later on, but hey, we're going to ride this out. So glad to have everybody here with us. I'm going to bring this amazing panel in first because I can't do it without them. Just want to say what's up to everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? You're good?
It's good. What's good?
It's good. I mean, so glad to have you here tonight, man. I mean, come on, computer. There we go. Now I can see it. Yeah, so glad to have everybody here tonight, man. Everybody's doing great. We got CC3PO in the building. We got in the building. We got Vinny the Room Raider in the building. And we also get El Profesoro. CC, how is your day going so far? How's everything for you?
You know, it's weird. It feels like it's been a long week, but it is my Friday. I have my first day off in 2 weeks tomorrow, and I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it. I'm going to have some drinks with friends. I'm going to drop off some art prints to go get framed. I'm going to pick up some art prints that I just got framed. So that's like my Christmas. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. And that's right. We got to, Mara, we still got to develop that segment. You know what I mean? We still have to do that, bro.
Yeah. I mean, Cece, you got anything for us tonight? Anyway, we'll just do it like off the cuff.
Well, it's funny because I actually did do a print show a little bit last night. I kind of invited myself to Chris over at Rogue 16, his unboxing or like reveal of his Death Star turret. And then afterwards, I showed off some art prints that released this week. And one so I've been pretty proud of myself. I haven't bought an art print yet, but there is one Batman print that I'm going to try to buy tomorrow. But yeah, there have been some Star Wars art prints that have released in the last 2 weeks. And there's going to be even more releasing next week with Bottleneck. So I have the photos and stuff queued up if you want to do that afterwards, maybe.
Hell yeah, let's
do
go.
it. Let's do it.
Let's go. More content. Definitely. We can queue that up. And I can't wait for it, man. Let's go already. So, as a matter of fact, I'll even join you, CC. I'll show you some prints that I got from Comic Con.
I'd
Star
love
Wars.
to jump in
okay.
too. Make it a whole thing.
Yeah, let's
There
make it
you
in. Like,
go.
we'll get,
There
Because
you
you
go.
already got
Fresh
mine.
prints.
You already got
yeah,
mine.
yeah, yeah. Also, we'll definitely queue up some prints.
I'll run through them way quicker than Monday, and we'll just zip through them.
Yeah, we'll zip through them so we got
Oh,
more
yeah.
content. And I might even have some incriminating pictures of but we'll talk about that later on. Like we'll see how that see how that goes. Anyway, thank you guys for basically being here. How is your day? How is it going?
Well, my day isn't over. I still have more work to do. I'm not done with the day yet, but it's not a bad day. Just, happy to be here to talk about Star Wars. There's so much to talk about. Still riding the high from last weekend. We had such a great time. Certainly am still enjoying that. So I feel great right now, and I'm just so happy to be here.
Definitely so glad to have you here with us as always. Vinny, what's going on with you, brother? How you doing? You tired? No, of course you're not.
Nah, but I am, man. What a crazy and busy week. It feels like a blur almost. Just like a whirlwind of stuff going on, things to do between work and Inktober and the con last weekend. We had a ball at New York, and I got so much accomplished that I wanted to get done. I got so many good prints, picked up some great comics, a holy grail that I've been looking for forever, and I had a great time in New York City, had a blast. So I'm still coming off of that, man. I'm just so glad to have been able to go to NYCC another year, and then a great week with Andor, and we got 2 weeks of amazing episodes to catch up on. Definitely. And I mean, I don't know if it's quite Book of Boba Fett level caliber. I mean, that's my favorite show of all time. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but two great episodes. I can't wait to dive into them.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's gonna be great. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. My man El Profesoro, man. How you doing, man? How's your week been so far? I know it's been busy, but I mean, chucking through.
Yeah, aside from that, man, doing pretty damn good tonight, man. Appreciate you hosting tonight, bro. And it was great to see all you guys over there at NYCC, man. I really enjoyed all the photos, especially with Vinny over there on Mount Rushmore, right in the middle, man. And I was like, I knew you might leave that one for a minute.
Somehow found it.
I don't know how
deep inside to muscle through and get through that photo. I don't know how it did it.
Oh, those chichonas, dude. That was hilarious. I was dying when I saw that photo, man. But glad to see everybody tonight, man.
Yeah.
Leo's gonna be quiet because he almost got in so much trouble. You should have seen the effort he went
really
to act like he was paying attention to any and everything else.
That's amazing.
I literally, but yeah, I was. I was, but I mean, it is what it is, man. It is. It definitely is what it is.
Can't help it sometimes, man.
I mean, hey, Mount Rushmore is what it was, bro. Like,
was it popping more over there than it was a Celebration?
No, Celebration was. I think, in my opinion, and you can probably attest to this as well. I think for what Celebration gave me, because the thing is, when we talk about Celebration, it is Star Wars centered. So it is all about Star Wars. Everything that we can imagine about Star Wars, cosplay's on point, everything's on point, all content is diverse, is strictly Star Wars. With this year's Comic-Con, it was a bit different. And with reason, and I can completely understand that, because it wasn't just centered around, it didn't feel like a Comic-Con to me in certain aspects. Because it was more geared towards anime, you know what I mean, than anything else.
Or at least a bigger portion. So it became more of a pop culture thon than Comic-Con. There was definitely a big presence there of anime. And I think there was always, but I feel like, but there was a little, I don't know, it was a bit more balanced. The anime teams that showed up came to make a statement. And they had huge displays and huge presence, huge promotion. They acted like they wanted to make their presence known more so than a lot of the other comic book companies that were there, and
Mhm.
that is not the anime team's fault. That's Marvel doesn't is in putting that effort in, and DC and that effort in, but the anime Bandai and Dragon Ball Z, they were there handing out as much promotional stuff so that way their presence was felt all over the con as possible, and it shows. So I see what he's saying as far as if you love Star Wars and you go to Star Wars, then everything there is pretty much in your wheelhouse. But if you aren't the biggest fan of anime and you go to a Comic-Con, there might be like a big portion of it that is not necessarily not for you, but you're a bigger fan of the other stuff. But if you like anime and comics and Star Wars and Star Trek and all things geek, then this was more of a pop culture thon that you would have loved too. So
then there was more.
There's some for everybody.
Right. So there are more things to do. I mean, you guys were able to keep yourself occupied, considering that the lack of other presents that were missing from the con itself.
Yeah. Like it was like everything. We kept ourselves busy. Like, I mean, is walking around, going to different, and the Artist Alley is always a treat.
Yeah.
Especially when you go down there to get the prints that you basically need.
I spent the whole day Saturday in Artist Alley.
Yeah.
I spent all day Friday on the main floor. And there was so much to see on the main floor. There was maybe an hour where I had a little bit of free time, and I just was, taking pictures of cosplayers. But Saturday, I spent pretty much the whole day in Artist Alley, and Sunday we just bounced around and took as many pictures of cosplayers as we could and stuff like that. So honestly, you could spend most of the con just in awe of all the cosplayers and just hanging out and talking shop with people, But there was plenty to see and plenty to do. And that's with us not even waiting online for autographs or panels. So we have the full day there, and I wasn't anyway bored. So I can imagine how much more, impactful it was if you had lost time to wait online for autographs or panels. Then there's even, a chance you didn't even get to see everything because it's really tough to see everything. And, unless you're spending at least 2 days there.
Yeah.
Can I just say, man, that I mean, Vinny, all your posts for Inktober, man, have been phenomenal, dude. I've been loving that on the daily, bro. If I make it out that way, man, for NYCC ever out there, bro, I'd wait all day for your autograph, homie.
Straight up, brother. That means a lot.
Yeah, some cool stuff, man.
It's like a part-time job, but I love it.
But you're killing it, man.
I appreciate it, man. I'm spending all my free time on them and just coming up with concepts and ideas, and it's such a fun creative process to just think about what you want to do with each word and then just rolling up your sleeves and digging in and getting it out of your head and onto paper. It's really fun. I love Inktober, even though it's a lot of work, but it's
a grind. It's a grind.
Thank you, brother.
It's definitely a grind, man. But I mean, the pieces you putting in is incredible.
Thank you.
Definitely, man.
Yeah,
so,
I wanted to just say, in regards to the con, I agree. There was a huge lack of presence of certain IPs, some really big IPs, and also a lack of presence of some major films that are coming up, like Wakanda Forever. And we didn't see
poster,
Black
right?
Adam.
Not one poster either.
There was a lot that was missing, but in regards to there were some nostalgic events that even those I felt could have been advertised better. Like, for example, the Back to the Future panel, where I guess they had that DeLorean there. I don't know if it was the original one or what the story was, but Michael J. Fox was there, with the professor, and that
which I didn't even know until I got home.
Oh, really?
You didn't see the DeLorean?
No, I didn't know that Michael J. Fox and Doc was there. I didn't know they were there until I got home.
I'm telling you, man. She knows how to kill a con, dude. She knows how to conquer everything, bro. That's what you gotta stay attached to her, dude. You'll get in everywhere.
I think they had some panel tickets for that panel, but if you wanted to get guaranteed tickets, it cost like $1,000 to buy that as a separate package where you could, I think, meet Michael J. Fox and you could get autographs and go to that panel. And a lot of people bought it. Like it was, it was kind of popular, but also there was a Star Trek panel. It's called Star Trek Universe, and it was an hour and a half where they had Discovery, which was not one of my favorite shows, but also Prodigy. And then, of course, it was a reunion of all the people from the next generation. So that was, one of the highlights for me, because I don't know the next time I'm ever going to see that whole group of cast members together again. And it was amazing, that panel, so that was incredible. But I also went there because I'm an Outlander fan, and they had a special panel for that. They actually had two panel. They had an autograph session, which I did, and then an 8 p.m. at night Q&A with the star of Outlander, and then the following morning another panel, and that panel was a bit audacious. There was a lot of sexual innuendos in the panel. It was great. It was absolutely crazy. And then, although I had another ticket to another panel, I opted not to go to it because I wanted to hang out with everybody. But to be honest with you, I missed 2 days of New York Comic Con because I had to work. So if I had those extra days, I don't know what I would have done, but I kind of wish I hadn't lost those 2 days. But I was surprised when I got there. I didn't see like a big, I was hoping to see the poster, the Wakanda poster, where Shuri is in the front, and then on the opposite mirror of it is Namor. I think that would have looked amazing, like when you walk in. Instead, they had a poster of like the Sandman audiobook part 3. And I said, what is this? Is this like a Barnes and Noble kind of thing? Like what? Why are we seeing an audiobook advertisement? But it's okay. This is what they wanted to advertise, and there might have been contractual agreements and things. But they, for example, the what's that guy who plays he's an Avenger, and he has the metal arm. I can't remember. Oh,
Sebastian Stan.
Yeah. His autograph session sold out, and it was like hundreds of dollars just to see him. So there were a lot of stars.
I didn't even know he was there.
Yeah, I knew he was going to be there. Yeah.
I didn't know. I had no idea.
Well, his sold out rather quickly. So that was unfortunate that I couldn't tickets to his autograph thing. But anyway, there were guests there, and I looked at the list, and they had quite a variety of guests, but from shows that I was not expecting. Like, I think there was something called Something from Flesh and Bone, and Ben Barnes was there. And I thought to myself, when am I going to get a chance to see Ben Barnes? But I couldn't make it. And a bunch of other shows. I was expecting to see like a special Wakanda panel, a Black Adam panel, especially with the announcement that we're definitely getting Superman there. So I thought that might have been something that we would have heard there. But alas, no. However, it still was fantastic because I got to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. It was incredible.
No doubt.
Just to hang out was a joy. But yeah, in my opinion, it was just a lack of that Comic-Con feel, because the thing is, it's like people are more. But this is what I didn't think that was fair, though. And I say this with interest because New York is going to actually have a anime con, and like they're going to actually have their own. Yeah. So to basically take the opportunity to kind of like merge that with Comic-Con, taking away from the feel of it, it was just like, not to say that it wasn't important, but it just didn't. I don't know. It was just different. What were you going to say, Cece?
It was like
the guys over at Batman Statue Collector for their panel last night, because I think almost all of them went to New York Comic Con. They were talking about, obviously they're incredibly disappointed by the lack of statue makers there. It was like Diamond Select and not Tweeterhead. What was the other one? Oh shit. Cryptozoic was there.
Yes.
Apparently. So like some smaller companies were there.
Concrete Jungle was there as well, but they're just like more of a an urban sort of like
one dude.
Yeah, one dude.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're like tinfoil hat theory as to why, like Sideshow did their virtual con again, as to why those major players weren't there. Like Queen Studios instead did the event in Las Vegas. That was like a paid event. Was that maybe it was an issue where they were waiting to see if it would actually go on, like if New York Comic Con would either happen, or they were like something happened last minute where by the time they decided they wanted space, the price of the space went up significantly. Yeah. And so it's almost like those companies got bought out for event space,
Mhm.
or it was just not cost effective to do. It's like they had to choose between San Diego and New York Comic Con because the price of event space was apparently so high for New York Comic Con. I don't know if any of that's true, but certainly disappointing if that's kind of like what you go to New York Comic Con for, is to see a litany of different vendors. I think if I had gone and it was mostly anime, I would have been disappointed. But also, I think I know that there are a lot of just anime specific conventions. So I think that's why I'd be disappointed, because it's like, hey, there's like other platforms for this.
Yeah.
And the fact that I do feel like the movie companies have kind of dropped the ball with their advertising. Whether it's production issues where like we didn't hear anything about The Flash. I feel like we didn't hear much about Black Adam. Mind you, I've been really busy, so it's not like I had my finger to the pulse on all things New York Comic Con, but it just seems like they had plenty of opportunities to, like you said, show a lot with Wakanda Forever, and they didn't. So
yeah.
Even coming off the heels of the announcement of why am I thinking Gene Hackman? Hugh Jackman in Deadpool 3.
Yes.
They could have done something, for that too, just to show the fans. I mean, if they were out walking around either on the floor, they had some sort of panel where they just came out as a surprise. I mean, it just sounds like so much missed opportunity, man. It was
a lot of missed opportunity going in. So
personally, I enjoy so many of the vendors that are typically regularly there in Artist Alley and a lot of the comic vendors and original art providers, and so there's so much there for if you're there for that. But if you're just generally speaking, there was the reason why anime was so dominant was because they acted like they really wanted to try so much more than it's very weird to not have. Yeah, we didn't see one Wakanda poster or Black Adam poster.
Nope.
And it's not like we expected to see, a big huge trailer announcement. It's too close to it or anything like that.
She-Hulk, no nothing. I mean, you had
all
the characters
the major
walking around,
banners. All the major banners were for television shows that I didn't even know what they were. There was a major giant banner for a new Quantum Leap show, and it's like those are nice and everything like that. But you expect, with both Black Adam and Black Panther less than a month away, that you'd be walking into a big giant commercial for it, and you weren't. But I still had a blast though.
And they also had a Walking Dead panel, and from what I heard, people were somewhat disappointed in that because they expected Andrew Lincoln to show up, because this might be the last panel that they have, because the show is going to be concluding soon, at least the main show. So people were talking about that, and they were surprised that he didn't go. I haven't watched it, but I am also surprised to hear that he wouldn't be there for the last one.
I thought the show ended already.
No.
It's still going? Wow.
No, it's still going. I think this is the final season, but
I thought they said that like 3 seasons ago. The final season.
And last year they had So Toys had a display of a lot of the Walking Dead figures, because they make a lot of the Walking Dead figures. And I own a few of So Toys. I think it's So Toys.
No,
Walking Dead.
I think it's 3-0.
3-0.
Oh, thank you.
So's unlicensed. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. 3-0 toys. Like I have King Ezekiel, and I have what's the guy's name? The guy who's helped Rick after he got out of the hospital. He's one of the first characters who helps him. I can't remember his name
Glenn?
now. But no, it's when he gets out of the hospital and he's runs into that man with his son.
Oh, I know you're talking about.
Yeah.
Morgan.
Yes, Morgan.
Oh, yes.
I have that figure as well.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, if I went there and I saw more figures like that, I might have considered getting another one, but I was surprised not to see that, especially since the panel's there. So that was kind of odd.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. All in all, I hope next year is a better turnout. I hope they, basically kind of readjust themselves. Again, we had a ball, but it is what it is. Can't really cry over spilled milk. It was still entertaining. Got the prints that I wanted, and hopefully we see more of a turnout next year. Who knows? Anyway, let me address the chat real quick before we actually dive into tonight's discussion, and that's to talk about Andor. Let's make it all about Andor. We got, let me see here, Mary Sullivan is in the building. Thank you for being here. We got Luminar, who we had a chance to spend some time with.
Oh, I
at the
missed
at
her.
Yeah,
Comic
yeah.
Con, and she
Mhm.
basically she cosplayed as um um um
Nubia.
Nubia, and she killed it.
She
Wow.
looked
So
amazing.
yeah, she looked amazing. We had AJ Gruce in the building. We got Vinny out there. We got Philosopher King in the building. Renz Talentino,
My
Dave
man Renz.
Lin Shin in the building. Thank you for being here. Malika Mabane, AJ Agrusa, William Owens, Beskar Kid as always. Amber May's in the building. We got Daryl Smith in the building. Who else we got? Yeah, I think we covered just about everybody else. We got a few more people stumbling through, but yo, so got to talk about this, man. I mean, again, I'm just going to get initial thoughts before we actually dive in so far on what everybody's feelings are about this show. I'll start off by saying, like, again, I can't stress it enough how much I love this show. Like, I literally love this show. Everything that we've gotten so far has been amazing. And basically just to see the stages and the development of Andor, you know what I mean, of Cassian, like just to basically see, you know, his development, you know, and what we know he will become, but just seeing it fleshed out from the very beginning of what we get from him. Getting a chance to see Mon Mothma's story, all the side characters, everybody who basically you would look at and say, well, you know, I don't know if they're interesting or not. I think everybody in these episodes have been interesting. Um, Again, I go into it with a sense of wanting to get that, you know, that scope and that connective tissue to these characters and go on a journey with them. And I think the dialogue basically proves that. It gives me everything that I wanted. It was completely amazing. I loved it. And I'm loving it so far. And the thing is, it's like even this episode 6, it felt like a finale and it wasn't. I forgot that we still have so many more episodes to go. And I'm like, yo, I am on board with it. I am having so much fun, you know, with this show. Just again, I can't say it enough. When a show is well written, it shows. And I think this is well written. And in my opinion, is just like one of the best out there right now. CC, what are your thoughts on it so far overall when you're looking at the scope of it?
I've been very impressed, as most people have. I do think it feels wrong to say it's better than Mando, and I will just say that just because I have a nostalgia for Mando, kind of like I still have like special feelings towards The Force Awakens, just because it did
Mm-hmm.
like you remember the first time, like when it was impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's been supplanted a little bit doesn't mean I have lost a appreciation
Yeah.
for Mando. I will say I can appreciate Mando for different reasons, but we'll
Yeah.
see, because I do think it might get a little darker and a little more like high stakes going forward. But I'd say I appreciate Mando because it is kind of the mission of the week. Everything's different, kind of like side quest nature.
Mm-hmm.
It seems more family friendly, of course, compared
Mm-hmm.
to Andor. But I
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
Andor because it's not family friendly and it's not
Yeah.
Freak of the Week. It's not side quests and missions. It seems very focused. I love the dialogue. There's been a lot of quotes that I've looked up afterwards. Like, did someone put
Yes.
that in IMDb already? Because like that's something I
A
instead
lot
of
of
like
Jules.
right, like instead of live, laugh, love, like somewhere on a wall in my house, I want some of these quotes from the
You
show.
said focus. I'm sorry. Whenever somebody says focus, I got to pull this up. It's the focus part. So again, sorry
The
about that.
hell?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Continue.
So yeah, I feel like I can understand people's criticisms a little bit in the beginning where it feels like a slow burn. But I think that episode 6 is really like it wouldn't have been as impactful if it hadn't taken so long to get to that point.
Mhm.
So I think, and again, episode 6 is the halfway point, which is kind of shocking. I feel like because of the other shows that we've gotten, it feels like that should have been, like you said, a season finale that we would end on. But we're only halfway there. I love, yeah, I just think the dialogue, the writing has been very special, and they've I feel like we care a lot more about these characters in the few moments we've had with them. Even the dude who's like incredibly unhinged, I can't wait to see him lose it. And I don't feel as invested even in some Mando characters like Moff Gideon. Like
Yeah.
I don't really care to like. I don't care if Moff Gideon succeeds or doesn't succeed. Whereas this guy, like, I want to see him lose it. Like, I want to see what the Empire does in reaction to what the rebels are doing in this show. And I can't necessarily say the same for Mando.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, like what you said is phenomenal. Like we're, on this episode 6 that basically felt like a finale, and we're only halfway through. So just imagine, how would you have felt if the season would have ended on this 6th episode? Would you have felt satisfied? I'm like, yo, that at least it was satisfying. Just just knowing that I forgot the simple fact that we have more episodes to go is fulfilling, because it just lets me know that I was so invested in this show, and what it gave me is with that buildup. Like you said, had we not seen things the way we have seen it so far from episode 1 up into episode 6, that slow burn that we needed to get to this heist where the stakes were so high, I was at the edge of my seat the entire episode, this last episode. And the stakes were extremely high. To see where it actually, went, it was phenomenal. And then knowing that we still have more to go, I'm like, yeah, I'm all in. I'm on board with it. What are your thoughts about this so far, and what you've seen so far about this show?
Well, one of my main concerns of this show has always been how they were going to sway Cassian over to their side. And I didn't want it to be where something that was very cliche. I didn't want to be something that, all of a sudden this happens and now he's on their side. I like his ambiguity. I like the idea that he's not quite, wanting to eat roots and sleep on rocks like the rest of them. He's kind of buying his time, to be honest with you, until something better comes along. And, while it is true, this may be the turning point for him with all this cash at hand, so to speak. He's still not 100% on board with what they're doing. And I love that. I always wanted him to be someone who is not a follower. He wants to be independent. He has that desire to rebel against anybody telling him he has to, follow anybody else. So I think that approach to him has worked, and they've maintained that, and it feels real, and it adds to the legitimacy of it, because if he was just so easily swayed, I probably
somebody keeps their focus out there. Sorry.
So easily swayed, then certainly it would kind of feel unbelievable. So there is that. Now, even before the show started, I had mentioned, I agree, The Mandalorian is not the best show ever made. I think it's a fun show to watch, but I wouldn't put it up on the level of Andor. I feel that Andor is more of a structured show. Perhaps more of a writing effort was made with it because it's maybe has more original work and interactions with people versus The Mandalorian, which might have been based on some actual information or lore. Maybe they have more freedom with Andor. Certainly, it feels like they spent much more money on Andor, and it shows the interactions with the characters are more relevant. Even the character who unfortunately passed away in the last episode, who wasn't there very long, but feels like he made such an impact, certainly on me, on trying to figure out, what is a rebel like in this time period? Like, what would you be like? Well, you'd be like this guy who's like, well, philosophy teaches us that we have to live our lives the right way. Are you living your life the right way? And you'd be like, hey, I didn't sign up for this. Back off, buddy. I'm just here to do my job. I don't want to hear your rhetoric, And there he goes, leaving the book to Andor. So he has no choice to hold this book. And one day he's going to open this and say, oh, man, he suckered me and I'm reading this. He probably wrote a passage to him. Andor, if you ever read this, I want you to know I believe in you. That I'd be like.
You never know. Yeah, right.
So I think it's really interesting approach to making a character, and characters that actually die. I'm sorry, but I like that. It feels more realistic. Everybody cannot be saved, unfortunately. And, I feel that was important for there to be some finality in some of this. So we understand what the sacrifices are of a lot of the people involved. So I'm not expecting the guy who was the Imperial officer to come back because he was shot in the hangar bay or wherever that was. I'm not, it's not that we couldn't save him. It's just that they had to leave. And so I imagine if he is alive, we'll never see him again. So, I do need to see those types of interactions come to a point where it ends, and then we can go on with more characters. But from beginning to end, this has been an enjoyable story to watch. I want to see what's happening in the next episode. And like you, it did feel like it was over, but we know now that this money is out there, I have a feeling there's going to be even more backstabbing. I like that they kind of did that. I'm still a little unsure. He killed that other guy. Was that guy going to kill everybody? Somebody answer this question. Did Andor save everybody, or was that guy, what was his intentions of this other person?
Oh, yeah. So what you mean right before he left?
Yeah.
Well, because I think the thing is, like, the way I read that and watching it, and the more he was talking to Andor, I read a lot of guilt in Andor. He saw a lot of himself in that individual. And it was a struggle in between, okay, who am I now? What am I becoming? So the thing is, it's like that internal battle. Do I want to stick around and make sure that that they succeed? Or am I just like, you know what? I just can't take it. I don't want any attachments to anything. And right now we see that Andor wants no attachments. And I think a lot of that comes because he feels guilty about the attachment that he didn't have with his sister and that he left her behind. So a lot of that kind of plays into it. And hearing that this guy's plan was, hey, take the money, let's go, leave these guys here. Let's just basically leave them like fish out of water and just let it be. I think Andor was like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, I'm going to take my cut, but I'm going to kill you and just let them know that I basically did it. And, at least give them a fighting chance. Only take my cut and let them have everything else. I'm out. Plain and simple, I'm out. You know what I mean? So a lot of that was an internal battle with him. It wasn't that he necessarily wanted to save them. He saved himself, but it's a struggle because he's guilty. Yeah,
and if he did that to them, he would have did it to Andor too.
Exactly. So it's just like, who wins first? Who shot first? Han type of situation. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. So that's where I think a lot of that came from, and I loved it. And like you said, I love the simple fact that Andor, it just wasn't a cut and dry situation where, Cassian was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna join your cause. Oh, hell no. He's reserved. He's reluctant. He's like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. I got paid to do a job. Here, you can have this kyber crystal, which I'm like, damn. I'm like, Cassian, did you forget how much dude said that kyber crystal was worth?
Yeah, but he was supposed to return it. He's honorable.
But return it. But he was supposed. Well, he did say give it back to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and he gave it to the right person to give back. So yeah.
Yep.
And I got the impression that that kyber crystal, like I think that was the whole point of it. It's almost like if I was in a bind and I was like, hey, can I borrow your phone? I have to like go halfway across town with it, but like it's an emergency. Here, take my wedding ring, like something that's like precious to me or that I can't replace. And I think that was the kyber crystal, and Andor sensed that, where he was like, it's worth 30,000 credits, but it's worth more to me. Bring it back. So it was collateral essentially. So I think Andor realized that he, it's better to like have his life and give that guy
clearly
back.
He knows that
Risk
the
an
man
enemy.
it belongs to wouldn't have just accepted that he'd stole it. He would have been hunted for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, that scene was so pivotal, and I'm glad you brought that up because it was really, I think they stuck the landing with that, with showing us that Andor's like, nah, I'm Switzerland when it comes to y'all. I'm just out of that. Let me just do my own thing. I help you out this time, but I'm out. Peace. Good luck. Hope everything's cool. Even like, it showed like even when he took the character to the hospital to try to or to the doctor to try to see if he could save him. And the thing is, what I loved about that scene is that they couldn't save him. So it shows that, that, oh, damn. Because in my mind, I was like, okay, maybe he'll survive. But when they put the sheet over his head, I'm like, yo, this is dark as fuck.
Yeah, I thought he was going to come back with some robot,
Yeah.
If it was Tatooine, they would have had some robot parts.
Like, yeah, hell yeah. But it was dark. And it's the simple fact that he didn't survive. I was like, oh, that's
Mhm.
kind of. But then again, it's like Cassian was showing a bit of his humility in that. You know what I mean? Like he was showing a bit of empathy for the character, but at the same time, not wanting to get too close. So that's what I loved
Mhm.
about it. Mario, so far. Now I know Mario, this show has been really divisive with you a bit. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
A little bit.
you felt as though it's been, you know, slow. But I will say, and I wanted to say this real quick with this last episode because if I don't, I'll forget it. Something so subtle, I found a lot of enjoyment out of seeing the fucking TIE fighter pilots get inside of that TIE fighter, bro.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Seeing
yeah.
all the gear. It's
All the-
I'll mention that when it's
I'm
much.
trying to start up.
Bro,
Yeah.
man, I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Did-
Anyway, Mark, I'll leave it out.
Did anybody else think that they're a little bit goofy looking, man? I know their helmets are like a little bit big, but they just seemed like they didn't know what the hell they were doing, trying to maneuver some of the fighters, and I don't know. It just looked, for me, they looked kind of goofy, man. But you know, that apart, that's just a simple nitpick. The previous episode, what is episode 5?
Mm-hmm.
I stayed up and watched it with Cece and Matt, and I was like dead ass half asleep watching it too. So it really didn't help that one kind of, you know, it was, while it was good, it had amazing character development. We saw tension build up, you know, between some of the characters, which was great. But it's just like, come on. I mean, let's get to something. I see what's going on, right? I totally get it, you know, but it just doesn't, like, for something like Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, it's all dialogue. A lot of it is dialogue. But the thing is that there's just so much going on within that dialogue. You know, I'm there for it, and I'll love it and I accept it. But with Star Wars, or for this particular show, there's just something about it that is just like, you know, I'm just not that gravitated towards it. You know what I mean? But I get it. I'm not saying it's bad. It's good for what it is. It really, really is. The last episode from the other night, that was great, you know, because we actually saw, you know, the buildup, you know, paying off to it and everything else that, you know, that happened, you know, within that. I thought it was really good. And I forgot like some of the other characters that were actually in on the job, because I only saw it once, you know, each episode. I've been meaning to check it out again. But, you know, time and, you know, life gets in the way, you know, just keeps me from watching as much as I want to. But I can't say nothing bad about it because there's really nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's more of a me thing in this case. You know what I mean? So it's, but it is good. It is a good show. It's just a little bit difficult for me sometimes to, like, I don't want to say pay attention to, but just to really get into it.
Got you. Nah, and that's completely understandable, bro. Like I said, for some, you know, it's a complete, like, it's a switch from what we're used to. You know what I mean? It's switch for what we're used to in the Star Wars universe. But to me, it's sort of like a good switch because, again, what I want is I want to be able to collect. I want to be able to connect to the human side of it, but at the same time, just the realism. And it feels like a world that I could live in, that I'm like, yo, that's real. And the stakes are high, and that's just the draw from it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I got from it is I love behind. Here's the thing. It's like we're so used to seeing the action, everything that we actually see with whether or not it's with Jedi, you know, the fiercest battles, stuff like that, cut and dry. You know, we see that. We see the supernatural value of it. We see like the war, whatever. But we never get a chance to see the buildup and the dialogue that takes place behind the scenes of how we get to these particular points. And I think that with this show, it's because the thing is, if you miss certain things, you won't understand what they're talking about. The plans that they've been on has been so familiar. The weaponry that they use, the transporting, you know, certain things, you know, from one place to another, that's familiar. If you don't miss though, if you're not listening, you'll basically miss that aspect. And hearing them have these conversations, and I'm just thoroughly enjoying, you know, Mon Mothma. I could, and again, I'm with somebody out there who said, yo, I hope we get a Mon Mothma. I think it was username said, I hope we get a Mon Mothma. I'm right there with you. I hope we do. But yeah,
you know what it is, Lale, too. I'm sorry, bro. What it is too is that I think it's more, I don't want to say it's more disappointing or more of a letdown, but I really wish that if we would have seen this type of storytelling within Kenobi, right? Some of those legacy characters that they really put in place that we all had high hopes for, just to be, a lot of us were let down by these shows, man. The Book of Boba Fett, because these are legacy characters that we all grew up with, man. And for them to get treated the way that they did, but they do so well with freaking Andor. It's like, why couldn't you guys do that with Kenobi? Can you imagine how much more better?
Invested
how much better
Kenobi
would have been?
Yeah.
If
they would have gave Kenobi like 12 episodes, if they would have gave Book of Boba like 12 episodes and had it more fleshed out, we would have thoroughly enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I think like if you would have gave, and if the tone, like put it this way, bro, the tone of this show and what Gilroy's writing is, if you would have gave him Book of Boba, we just saw something totally different. We would. We just saw something totally different, and it would have been incredible. But I agree with you, bro. I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Benny, what you think about it so far, man? What is your feelings?
So the previous episode 5, when they were out on the plains discussing just shooting shit, talking about the plan, and the dialogue was so like Aaron Sorkin like newsroom and sports night. It was just so fluid, just so in depth of what they were going through. I remember I looked over my girl, I was like, I could watch 50 episodes of this. And I just loved the dynamic of what was going on and what they were doing. And something about the set pieces for the past few episodes out in the mountains was so like, those are some of my favorite movies are like out there like that. To see that type of setting for Star Wars was so new, so refreshing. I loved it so much. And I feel like it's hitting multiple genres at once. Like the team that they put together for this was very, very reminiscent to me of The Matrix. Like the kid felt like Mount. The dude who found out that he had the necklace, he felt like Joey Pantalone. Like everybody felt like a player from the ship, and that they were on their own journey to rebellion in their own way, and whether it be for whatever their reasons were. And then add on top of that, it was a heist film, and on top of that it's a drama, and on top of that it's Star Wars. It's like the show wears so many different hats, and it's easy to see how maybe it loses some people along the way because it's trying to do a lot. And I feel it's doing it successfully, but I feel like if there's any one of those things that aren't your cup of tea, it might take some patience for you to stick with it. But I feel like every single one of those things that they try to do, they do well. Like there's nothing that they're trying to do that they're not doing too great at. And I love that they're not trying to be funny. And that's such a huge thing for me currently, because it seems like that's like the 2022 like mission statement is to make everything as fucking hilarious as possible, and corny as possible and campy as possible, as a contrast to all the seriousness in the world, or whatever reason that is that executives think that that's what everyone wants to see. This is a nice, refreshing take on a more serious Star Wars, and I am absolutely loving it. Seeing the inner dynamics of how the TIE fighters are working, or how the ship's working, the logistics of Star Wars, the stuff that goes into planning their missions and the heist, and just them going over, look, this is how we got to march, so that way we know that we fit in. This is how you should be holding your gun. All the small details that goes into this, so that they don't get their cover blown. And then this episode with the TIE fighter scene, I mean, I'm sitting there, taking pictures because I want to draw so much of it. I mean, it was fantastic. The eye was beautiful. The just everything about it was just so great. I'm not sure why none of them thought to buckle up before taking off, but otherwise it was phenomenal. Everything that the show is doing right now is just I'm all in for. It's way too soon to rank it, because I would have to see the whole show before I try to put it over any others. It would be really hard for any show to beat Mando to me as far as Star Wars shows goes, and there's only been 3 so far, so it's not really a lot of competition. But there's something really special about what they're having the balls to attempt here, and I just think that they're just hitting on all cylinders, and I just love that they don't care about what how making sure something is funny or exciting, or they're married to the story that they want to tell, and they're like, if you're in, cool. If not, I'm sorry, it's not for you. I love that. And I love that they're not trying to make sure that everybody can watch it. It's like creative driven. It feels so creative driven. And I love that about it. It's almost like they said, you know what, here, this is, you do what you want to do and we'll write the check. Tell us how much you need to film it. And y'all good, go take care of it. And that's how it feels. It really feels like it's a labor of love. So I'm loving it. I like a lot of the characters that we lost this episode. I hope that the next round of people we get are just as interesting and exciting. And man, I'm just so good. I every week I can't wait for Wednesday because Andor has just been killing it.
Yeah, definitely it has been. One character I'm so glad that survived. I mean, because I loved her in Game of Thrones. And I was like, yo, please. I mean, even the simple fact that we saw a bit of, in episode 6, we saw a bit of a hesitation in her, which could have completely derailed the mission. She still did it, but I like her toughness, and she plays a serious character on. I mean, I don't see her. I didn't even
she's
see
not
her.
fake tough. She's not like,
no.
She has vulnerability too.
Yeah.
She doesn't know.
Who does she play in Game of Thrones?
Remember, she was the
was this the one that was with Arya, the waif?
Yes.
Was that her?
Yeah.
Oh, the one that was beating her up all the time? Okay.
Yes, this is the one.
Oh,
and I loved her. She was the one I hated so much. But in this, you still see that level of toughness. And like Vinny said, it wasn't fake. It wasn't something where it was just thrown in. No, it was, again, she showed her vulnerability. She's shown that there was a level of fear there. In that, again, she was unsure about the actual mission. But I think that it was just that level of belief and toughness that, okay, everything, these people are put in place for a purpose. And let's see basically how it's going to pan out. And she came through in the end, and I was just so glad that she did not die. And I got to, and like I said, yeah, she was mean, bro. Like straight up
in this photo, dude, she looks mean, dude.
Yeah, bro. She looks like a mean ass, bro. But straight up, I love that toughness about her. I love that what we got from her. But I mean, I just thought that even with episode 5, just the setup. How we're meeting these particular characters like a bunch of misfits. You don't know who fits where. On top of that, we find out, that one of these characters was an ex-stormtrooper. So it's like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like that, you're dealing with an empire, de factos or basically spies within who have their own certain agendas. Like the one guy who, pretty much lost his wife. I mean, he fell in love. That situation went awry, and he's just like, what, fuck the empire right now. I'm just going to taint it from with inside. So I like that. I mean, the thing is about this show is the reason why, again, and I'll just explain it. Don't get me wrong, Mando was there. You know what I mean? Because it's something familiar. It started all this. The first show that we actually saw on Disney Plus, and initially that kind of started it all, started us down that journey. And I got a feeling like this next season is going to be dark, and it's going to come with a lot of risk, and that risk factor is going to be there. And I believe it because it's Mando. They're going to put all their ducks in a row. They're going to put all their eggs in one basket when it comes to Mando. But I think that this, when it comes to Star Wars shows, that's why I have them kind of. It's hard because, again, it's right there. All right, I'll say it to you this way. You know how we got that battle between both Avatar and Endgame, where Endgame was basically ahead of Avatar in sales. Avatar was re-released, and you have that up. It just overtakes it. We already know they're going to release Endgame again, so at some point right before the new Avengers movie. So it's going to overtake Avatar again. That's the way I feel about this. Right now, I'm from my standpoint, Andor is overtaking Mando right now. But once season 3 drops,
3 kicks in,
it can edge out. Just by the feel. So I'm just happy that we're getting good Star Wars shows. And like you said, El Profesor, with the disappointment that we actually got from the Book of Boba, the disappointment that we got from, Obi-Wan, this is refreshing. And I hope that they use this as a vehicle to say, you know what, we need to pay more attention to some of these shows and good writing.
Mhm.
So that's,
Mhm.
pretty much where I stand with it. But yeah, episode 5, I mean, initially, like the characters what I like about it is each setting that we actually have, we meet characters that we become vested in, and we're like, you didn't think you should have been, but you are, because they all have their own story, and we hear those stories. I almost thought that the cat that died was force sensitive. I thought that was going to be a reveal that he might, because he did say his religion and his faith. So I was like, maybe, I don't
I
know.
didn't think of that. Yeah.
I didn't, you know what I mean? It could have been, but I'm glad that they didn't, because again, they focused on the mission and what was actually involved. So I like that. But I just felt as though like it was a good segue into, and again, it was that slow build into what we got from episode 6. What we see from episode 6. And I think it was done, quite well. Vinny, I know that you were talking about, you wanted to get into like what we saw, with the TIE fighter pilots. I don't. The reason why I thought that wasn't like I loved it is because did y'all ever see like that animated? I think it was an animated fan made film about the TIE fighters, and it was dope.
That was hella dope. Yeah.
This
It
is
was
what
like anime style. Yeah, that was hella sick.
This sort of gave me that feel when I saw them jumping in those TIE fighters, bro, because we never really seen that aspect of it.
Once again, it's something that I always feel like is missing a lot. It's like no matter how much I get of it, I always want more. The whole universe is based off of Star Wars, so sometimes I feel like there's not enough of the ships and dogfights and them in the ship. So them getting in the control center and flipping everything on is just, there's something about that with Star Wars. It's just so amazing. It's part of why we don't want Rogue, Squadron unless it's done right, because this is the type of magic that we want to see in the film with that. And it's so like, that was another thing missing a lot in the sequels, is there wasn't enough of them fighting in space. There was something that was really awesome about them getting in the ships, and the logistics of like, I need numbers, I'm flying blind, and what to do, and the TIE fighters coming after them. And I love the thought process. Like, we talked about how this was maybe the first time they seen a TIE fighter. Well, this might be one of the first missions any of these TIE fighter pilots even got to fly, especially in combat. Like, how often are they fighting? I mean, the Empire is such a stranglehold on the world, right? Like, how often are they opposed? It's kind of like our own military, right? Like, how often is so many of the pilots in America on missions against that aren't training missions? It's very rare. So this might have been the first time that they, were actually, in battle and having to, and they're having to navigate asteroid field, for lack of a better term, on the way. So it was just incredible. I loved every bit of it. That scene, that sequence was just gorgeous. Absolute eye candy.
CC, how did you feel when you saw the TIE fighters and you saw like just the prep work and just behind the scenes of them preparing? And I sort of like the simple fact that there was a bit of uncertainty and they were kind of a bit everywhere, that they didn't know what they were kind of getting themselves into. But just to see what was recognizable again on screen, and the simple fact that they pay attention to detail and they give us this, like, how did you feel when you saw them, come across?
I was freaking out. I love it. I mean, those helmets are huge. Like, I've got one that's still sitting on the floor next to me. They're huge. They're clunky. I get it, but it's my favorite design of any. Well, I dare say I think Death Troopers are up there. But as far as original trilogy, like, absolute favorite design. I loved it. Any chance we get, the sound. Just the sound
alone. Every time when they were talking and one flew by, that sound alone is just like, oh, they're close. Like a kid.
And I loved the scramble. I mean, it really did, to me, remind me of New Hope. Where I don't think they seemed like as amateurish as you guys are got that impression. Because to me, I mean, I can't imagine they ever envisioned they would have to go out there into like a dogfight while the eye is going on and there's meteors everywhere. So I wasn't surprised they ate it so quickly and in this spectacular fashion. So I think that even the most elite of pilots was going to have a hell of a time in that kind of situation. They didn't seem like a ragtag bunch, like they were novice at what they do. I just think that they unfortunately had to walk into a shit show, which
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
a giant meteor shower. But the whole sequence was amazing. Him screaming, climb, dive, like just it seemed like reminded me of
Yeah.
like Das Boat or like an old war movie, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like either like an actual dogfight, like with like World War II, like planes in the air or submarines in the ocean. Like, um, I loved it, but I mean I obviously love um, ties and tie pilots, and I liked seeing how they get into them because I know that's something that's been like contentious for a really long time. So yeah, I love this whole sequence. It was one of my
Yep.
favorites of the episode, if not my favorite.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, hearing him yell climb twice. And
Mhm.
the thing is, it's like the crazy part is when you hear somebody yell climb, it's like, they're going to die soon. Because K2SO bit it like right after he said climb. Like, you know what I mean? So I should have known that this dude was going to die, but I just didn't think, I just thought maybe he was just paralyzed. You know what I mean? That's basically what I thought. But yeah, like just hearing that, it again. And which, you know what? I didn't think about this. When he said climb, but when we hear K2SO say climb in Rogue One, and the look on Cassian's face, it was like, wait a minute, this is familiar. And I didn't really put two and two together. It was like, this is familiar. Like, I've heard this before. Somebody that I knew once yelled this before they died.
In desperation.
K2. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, yo, come on, man. No, don't say that. Say something else. You know what I mean? Like, it was just that
A bit of a
familiarity.
stretch, bro, but okay.
But no, I mean, just think about it. Like,
I
if
feel
you're
you.
if
Yeah,
you're
I feel you.
saying
Yeah.
climb, and he's been through that
Mhm.
situation, because those are the two things that he heard in the dogfight when they could have died. So it could be
Mhm.
that that is a familiar thing. And I'm looking at Cassian's face when K2 said that, and even when he said it, when the character said it here, it was like
Mhm.
that desperation on his face. So it was just it like Beskar Kid, like definitely, like I agree with you. Sound like K2. Like, I mean, there's so many things that they're kind of giving us what's familiar and what we know is coming. You know what I mean? Like Gilroy said, we're all of us right now are living in a prequel because we're going to die soon and our legacy is going to be told. You know what I mean? So that's
Mhm.
just mainly the way it is, and that's what I loved about it. What did you feel about this scene?
I loved it. I thought it had that intensity that we were looking for at this moment. It had to match the level of desperation of them getting the hell out of there. Meanwhile, everybody below, they can't see anything really that's going on. At least I don't think they can. And it's a beautiful sight, but a very important point in the story where if they don't pull this off, it'll be just a complete disaster. So just seeing them speed through this beautiful but dangerous natural phenomena was great. I
Mhm.
didn't know the TIE fighters weren't going to make it. I thought they could, do something to their ship, but clearly they couldn't. And it's incredibly dangerous what they were going through. I even wondered for a minute whether the cracks in the glass were from TIE fighters shooting at them, or was that just from the anomaly itself? So I said, oh my gosh, what happens if the glass breaks? Like,
Mhm.
Mhm.
what will they do? There's not a lot of room in there. So that was also exciting. And it is unfortunate that that one person got injured just, by being in the wrong place at the wrong
Wrong
time.
time. Yeah. Yeah.
It's unfortunate that happened to him. And I don't know how he was able to still work after that, because I would have been done, but he seemed to pull through. Maybe he knew that this was it for him, but it looked really good. The scene looked really good. If I were a TIE-Fi pilot, I wouldn't know what to do if I was thrown into this. I mean, this looks like it is a crazy astral phenomenon, but it looks like something that's incredibly dangerous, or you're in the wake of some horrible, implosion or star that's imploded or something. And you haven't outrun the shock wave. So you're in it, and you just have to pray that your ship can still stay, be okay. So there is that. So the excitement of the whole thing from start to finish, it just was really good. And it seems to have worked, let's say, so far. We don't think anybody has been able to necessarily track them, I guess. And just being able to use this as cover. I was a little skeptical about it at first, but the magnitude of the natural anomaly is just so much larger than what I thought they were talking about. This thing was huge. So you pretty much get lost in it. No one can see you after that. So it was a good plan.
It was definitely a beautiful sight, like just to see, and the thing is, you had, it has so many, religious undertones, and, with the group, the natives, of this, look at this, like this scene right here is beautiful to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, God.
like that scope is phenomenal. It looks so, you know what I mean? And then those beliefs. And here's the thing, is just like, that group of individuals, who knows what they were praying for? They were probably praying at that time for the downfall, of the, the Imperials there, you know what I mean? Pretty much the empire there. And you're looking at somewhat of it, you know what I mean? Like, the speech that, when we talk about, like, for instance, earlier on when, Kazian and what's Skarsgård's character's name?
Luthen.
Is it Luthen? Yeah. When they were actually having those conversations, and they were talking about, how, he was asking him, well, how did you, get in? He's like, well, easily, you just slip in, because they're just there's so much greed and like arrogance. They're fat, and they're just living this lifestyle, and don't think that, they think that everybody is, basically beneath them. The person that he was basically talking about, we got a chance to actually see on screen. It was this guy right here.
It's,
I mean, like,
also so great about that scene is he was talking, and he was just like, so what, we just give up then, and you just, be thankful for whatever crumbs you get, and Cassian just gets in his face like, do I look thankful to you?
Do I look thankful? Yeah.
And that was such a powerful scene, because it just reiterates what the show has been saying, like, from jump, is that there's so many ways that people are choosing to rebel. Like, and it makes absolute sense to feel like, not like joining a group and just, throwing an ice cube at the sun, so to speak, isn't going to do it. Like, how would they think that they have a chance doing it the way they do it? Like, there's, so many ways to, fight the system, and Cassian just doesn't feel like it's anything other than a suicide mission doing it the way that they're going about doing it. So he's like, hey man, just because I don't do it your way doesn't mean that I'm happy. So it's a lot of symbolism, and just a lot of just exposition on many real life politics and situations that are, in our world today, that we're seeing, transposed onto, show about light swords and spaceships. It's awesome.
Yeah,
there's so many depths and layers to it that are, happening every day.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And another thing that kind of like took me back, and I was so happy, because this show is easily tying in, and a lot of shows are doing it so far, but to kind of to be able to go back and see Mon Mothma back in the Senate room like this.
The Senate room was crazy. I'm not even I'm not even the biggest prequel, guy as you are, but seeing that room again was wild. I didn't think I'd see that room again.
Yeah, it's like when you see it, it's like all the nostalgia is actually there. And you know they got banked because they were able to put that back together, because last time we seen it was damn near destroyed. You know what I mean? Because of that battle. But to see, you know, Mon Mothma there and the conversation that she's having, nobody even cares because they're more worried about their money. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, okay.
you know what I mean? Like, they're not even, the conversations, like when she's talking, everybody's looking on their pads like, wait a minute, what? You know what I mean? Like, what happened? Did you have any perishables or anything that, you know, you will value on this planet, because it's been stolen, it's been taken. So a lot of them were just vanishing because, like, wait a minute, that's my money you playing with. You know what I mean? And that was the heist, is to take all the earnings. And that's exactly what they basically did. You know, and Mon Mothma not really knowing, but deep down inside, she's like, wait a minute. Okay. So there must have been a level of success here. Mario, how did you feel about this scene, man?
No, it was really great to see everybody again. I mean, in this environment. I mean, seeing the Senate again. I mean, especially right now, we see the Imperial cog on there. It just brings a totally different tone, you know, to the area, right? And then Mon Mothma's there, and I really didn't. You know, I was watching this during my lunch break, you know, so I was trying. There were some things that I missed, but yeah, this was really great to see again. But guys, I gotta head out right now. Okay, yeah, I will catch you guys next week. All right, we'll see you guys.
All right, no doubt,
All right,
man.
Mario.
We'll definitely see you later on, brother. Take care, man. Take care. I'll switch it to you, CC. How did you feel about this scene when you saw it, man?
I thought it was interesting, of course, a little nostalgic to see it again, considering we haven't seen it since the prequels. But I did find it interesting that it kind of reminds me of the like thunderous applause comment, where if you look around, like kind of everyone's reacting to this big heist. This like huge blow that the rebels have thrown the Empire for the first time, and how like publicly humiliating it might be for the Empire, and therefore they're all talking about that and not paying attention to her. But a lot of these seats were even empty. It wasn't as jam-packed as we recall seeing it. So I think that this is kind of like a huge indication that the Senate, like the senators are not as powerful as they once were. The Senate itself is not what it used to be. So I really appreciate that they included this.
Yeah, definitely was. And again, I mean, I'm just super happy that we're following Mon Mothma's journey on this, and I can't wait to see what the next episode and how it's going to be. I don't. What are your like? I mean, because the thing is, it's like you're watching it, and you know, again, because I just heard you say, okay. Did you not know that that's, you know, pretty much that's sort of like where it was connected to?
For which I'm sorry.
When everybody was basically leaving. Like,
yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I had no idea. So, so what I was going to say about this scene, you know, I did notice everybody was not listening to what she had to say, because, you know, she's speaking and giving her a talk about the, I guess the shipping lanes that have been cut off for, I can't remember is it the Gormans or something like that? And and then everybody's kind of scrambling. Yeah. And, you know, they're just, it's like there was some sort of stock market crash or something. And everybody is just panic mode. And she knows something has happened, but she holds her demeanor so well. She still has sort of like an angelic look to me. I'm not quite sure why she comes off that way, but she just does. She's just perfect, but she has to keep that facade up and not show any weakness as she's, you know, kind of like in this den of wolves, if you will. So it is very interesting to see her do that. But yes, it was great to see her talking, and clearly she's going to show up and try and plead her case. But, you know, I guess this distraction that's happened might change things. We heard one of the commanders say that they were starting, I think it was called a retaliation protocol. I could be wrong, but it sounded like it might be something like that. So, you know, I'm sure they have some sort of plan in place for if and when this should happen. And this is going to be it's going to be even worse than that incident that happened on, is it Makari? It's going to be even worse than the incident that happened in Makari. This one is going to be like One of the worst things ever. So
yeah, because it's sort of like the market crash. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like your
yeah.
money is on the line, and you to find out that there's been a huge heist, and you ain't getting paid. Like straight up, like your money is there. Anything you might have had invested, they knew where to hit the empire, and this is where they hit them first. And I love this. I love the way they did this.
And we're waiting for, I guess I'm not going to say the cliche-ish that they're going to strike back, but they are, we know there's going to be this retaliation that comes in. They were very careful to use, I think that's what they used as and the words, I could be wrong, but some harsh words, because everybody's going to be punished because of this.
They're definitely going to be punished. Like there's no way around it. But I think this is a blow that they wanted to actually strike right now. Just so they, that they know that the rebellion, the presence, is basically being, felt. They want to make their presence known. Look at all that money. Look at I mean, it's like you looking at it, it's like to us, it just looks like canisters, but that's a lot of money. That's
it's also something that has always been kind of missing in Star Wars, and you don't always need to know that characters go to the bathroom in between scenes. You don't need to know how the sausage is made, but the rebellion has always kind of been there, and there's never really been much logistics to how it works and how it operates. It's like we never really know how many people are in the rebellion. We never really see a true home base. We never really get to see how deep it goes. It's sometimes very vague, especially in the early films, whether it was just, a few dozen people, if it was hundreds, if there was thousands, if they were on multiple planets. And like, this is showing, all right, here's how we're getting money to fund it. Here's, how we're getting money to operate it. I mean, it goes into depth of what it would be like in, the real world to fund a quote unquote terrorist operation. Like that money comes from somewhere, and it's only as good as your finances. Otherwise, there's those ships cost take fuel, and fuel costs money, and there's pilots who aren't going to do it without getting paid, and you got to at least feed them, and all that shit takes money. So without this backing, the rebellion is nothing. So it's really cool to see the logistics, because this isn't just a group of people going against the empire. It's like it's a small army, and that they need money. So it's really cool.
Need credits to survive.
Yeah,
to
so it was really cool.
You're not getting those X-wing fighters for cheap.
They you're not renting them. So
hell no.
So it was really, really cool seeing it. I mean, it just the logistics of what went into the operation to set up future stuff is very, very cool. Seeing like the backstory and setup of it, because it takes a lot more than somebody getting up there and like having a rousing speech to inspire people. You also need that cash money. So.
And that's and here's this scene right here. I'm gonna pull it up here real quick. Once I get to it, this scene right here, it spoke volumes. Like, because it's like, okay, now we know where it's going, and from the transition from where he was, just a few episodes ago to now, seeing that there was a level of success and the enjoyment that we see in his face.
Yeah, this wasn't a fake laugh. That was a real laugh.
That was a real laugh. It was like stress off his back. Like everything. He knows that by hearing that was a success. Like this right here, it just spoke volumes to me. I was like, it's that moment where that if out of everything else that might have gone wrong, at least something went right with this, with the mission that was set in place. At least that it was a successful mission. Things worked exactly the way you wanted them to, even though that there was loss. And he even knew, and I think all of them knew, that there was going to be casualties. You know what I mean? I think anybody that actually roams with the Kazian, they're going to die. Plain and simple. Like, this is what it is. There's going to be a death somewhere.
He needed a cigar and saying, I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, right.
Like Hannibal off of 18.
Right. Definitely needed that. But I think it again, I can't say, I don't know. I can't, words can't describe. And again, like you said earlier, CC, like this is only episode 6, but it felt like a finale.
It definitely felt like finale. Like if they had closed it here, it could have been justifiably the finale.
Yeah. It could have been justifiably. It was justified as a finale, but we have so many more episodes to go. Like, like damn, like yeah, you know what I mean, like we're it's like this was chapter 1 of the first series closed. Now we're moving on to chapter 2. You know what I mean? Like act 2. Or actually we're moving on to act 3 in a sense. That's what it feels like. How did it feel for you, CCD? Did it feel like that with the closure of this episode?
I think like, yeah, it almost like we got a taste of Andor's origin.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got a little bit of backstory as to like who so if this was like a book, I would say the first part we got was Andor's backstory in Kenari
Mm-hmm.
and his sister, and being introduced to him, and maybe get a glimpse of how he grew up for that reason, being raised by someone who's not his family. Then we got kind of an introduction to all the players involved.
Mm-hmm.
Tightly wound dude, Luthen, I forget her name, but the ISB blonde woman, and then this act, the third act, kind of being like, okay, now we could really get the ball rolling and the story can really start. Now that they have what they need, the tools for success in the next stages of the rebellion. So I do think it's going to get probably a little more faster paced going forward, or like we're they've laid the groundwork for a lot more action. And by action, I don't necessarily mean like ship blowing up and TIE fighters getting shot out of the sky.
Yeah.
I mean more like we're going to see things happen besides just Andor being recruited into the rebellion. Like decisions being made, a lot of the politics with because I can't say Mothma very fast. I think we have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely. We got a $5 super chat by Bert. Expanding waistline command, J-Hole suffering a heart attack while doing face forced labor was extremely dark and one of the most real Star Wars moment. It was like literally like out of fear. He's out of shape. You know, he was sweating the entire time. You know what I mean? It was just like, where else could you have actually taken that scene? So yeah, great call.
Great metaphor for the Empire, because didn't they say that? Or it's like, oh, they just sit there and they grow fat and
yeah, that was it was a setup. That's why I brought him up, because it was like, yeah, like this is exactly the person that Andor was talking about, you know, in it. Let me ask you a question. What do you think is in this journal? Like, what do you think? I mean, besides everything that we know, because remember he said that he wrote a story. He was writing, you know, a lot of what he wrote was about, you know, he was writing about Andor, you know, no one else the night before. So what do you think that, you know, because I guess he made it, you know, quite clear that if he, in passing, he wanted him to have that journal.
Yeah, if Andor is lucky, it'll have things like when this guy spent time with Saw Gerrera, you know, or you know, how he got recruited into doing this and why, and also very important information about navigation. He seemed to be a whiz at using navigational tools and why, you know, like use this one because no one can track it. And, you know, I think he had said, if you break it or if it breaks, you can fix it yourself. So there's probably hundreds of really important bits of information in there, but also his manifesto, which actually, you know, I'm sure Andor does not want to read, but he might find himself in a situation where this is all he has, kind of stranded or abandoned somewhere. And he opens that up and finds something in there that might impress upon him. And this person is asking about Andor's sister. And I heard a rumor about her being the woman in the shop with Luthen at once. So I don't know if it's true, but it would be an interesting twist if it were her. But the other thing that I would say might be in there are probably ways that you could defeat the Empire. And, you know, because he's been thinking about this stuff, you know, this guy is a strategist in his mind, and he didn't have a lot of time with Andor. But if they could have hung out for a year or so, I think even he could impress upon Andor some knowledge that Andor might not have that's incredibly important. So, you know, I want to look at that book.
Yeah, definitely. And Vinny, like really quick though, it was the reference that, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, and it was that was a good reference that you made to Matrix.
Mhm.
When it came to the band of individuals, because again, we're seeing high stakes, we're seeing people with everything to lose but for a cause that they probably have no idea how important it is, but they're putting their lives on the line. You know what I mean? Again,
Mhm.
like we saw in Rogue One, you know, we're seeing it with the ragtag, you know, full of individuals that, you know, aren't really, they don't know, have no idea what's ahead of them, you know, and what
Yeah.
they're getting themselves into. So, um, yeah, that reference is definitely dope when I see it. You know, we got a turncoat, you know, like as we see it in
Exactly.
here.
It's like all the parts. I mean, tell me that kid isn't Mouse.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, that's like
definitely.
that's straight up out of it. So when I was watching them just shooting shit and talking, I'm like, this is like if we got a TV show of Matrix before they, got going, and it really felt like that. And I don't know, I just love the dynamic of that group that was put together, and it feels like that there was a lot of thought put into those characters, backstories and views to have something different. And it's clearly that they were an ensemble cast put together as opposed to
Hmm.
somebody who like grew up. And I do really hope we get more from her. I forget her
Yeah.
name because she was
Vel.
she was a Vel. Thank you. She was beautiful and smart, and like there seemed like there was so much more. Like she seemed like she had more balls than like all of them put together. I
Hmm.
can't wait to see like what they do with her going forward. I hope somehow she cross paths with him,
Hmm.
or we see something more from her in her future. Like she was telling you know she seemed more confident about what to do and have everything together than all of them.
Yeah.
So she was amazing as well. I mean, there was no weak link. It was everybody was very interesting and really creative, and I
Hmm.
just loved watching them. Just literally, just the dialogue between them, just talking, was amazing.
Yeah.
There's a rumor about Vel is that
Yeah.
she has a connection to Mon Mothma.
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Well.
That's interesting.
And the other, I forgot to mention about the book that you were asking me about, Lael, was that it's really funny that they would have this book in this story because I thought the book of Boba Fett was going to be like this. What I thought in the book of Boba
Yeah,
Fett
when
is
you're
that
talking about like the journal, yeah, yeah, I remember
yeah,
you
that he
saying
was going
that.
to like pass that book on to his son, and we already know what's in that book is everything you need to know as a bounty hunter in the universe. It's like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy almost, but for a bounty hunter, and has all that useful information. And I thought the story was going to be like where Boba Fett himself would be filling in things about what
Mhm.
he learns along the way, and then maybe he'd pass it on. Of course, there's no one to pass it on right now, but let's say hypothetically he could have had someone to pass it on to, just like what we're seeing in this series. So I got my pass the torch moment. It
Yeah.
happened
Yeah.
just in a different series. So who knew?
I've got a connection to mama. Yeah, that's
I'm sure you
crazy.
do.
That is crazy. That is definitely crazy.
She's
Now,
supposed to be her daughter. That's what
wh-
I heard from a
oh, for
rumor.
real?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
Huh.
what I heard as a rumor.
That's interesting, and I guess that's going to play out. Once we see it, because again, this is they, from what I'm hearing, like next episode is supposed to switch gears. And from him moving on, there's more. That so I'm just, man, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited about that. Like, everybody out in the chat, I mean, I hope you're having fun with this show as well, because I know I am. So again, this is what it is. I mean, I'm so enjoying everything that we're getting from this. And just to think that, we're getting this, like, what's the next show we're getting? Is that going to be Mandalorian, like Mando season
In
3 after this?
February of next year,
Mando.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so.
So
Mando
Mando's
3 and then
in
Ahsoka.
February. And
I
then
believe
Ahsoka.
it's Mando 3 then Ahsoka. Yeah.
I believe that. Yeah, I
Not
think
too
so.
shabby. Yeah, not too shabby.
Not
That's
too
hell of a lot.
shabby. So we got some interest, and then we got
Hell
the
of a lineup.
Acolytes coming up. Soon we got Skeleton Crew coming up. We still have season 2 of the Bad Batch. Whenever they announce that's supposed to be released, I think they said later on, whatever. But so much, to really expect. So I'm definitely excited. Hope you guys out there are excited too. Tales of the Jedi. I cannot wait to see that because I know Cece's gonna have a whole bunch of prints from it. So I cannot wait for that. It's going to definitely be exciting. Speaking of prints, CC, what you got? I know you got some stuff. Come on, show us.
All right, let me see. Do you want me to share the PowerPoint?
Yeah, share it. She got a PowerPoint set up.
Power print.
I screwed this up last time, so let's see how this goes.
Power print presentation.
Yeah, just pulled up. She got a PowerPoint presentation. I am ready to see.
Let me see if I could wait till I full screen it and then it will.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. We got a power print coming up by CC. A power print. This is a pre what we want to call this is a sneak peek at what's to come. Straight up. Okay. Well, you still working on it?
Yep. Give me 1 second.
We get a chance to see some prints. Here we go. You ready?
Yes.
All
I don't see you guys. Hopefully that's okay. So can you see the screen okay?
Yes.
Yeah. I can see the screen okay. Let me just move over. As a matter of fact, I'm going to single the screen out so we can see nothing but the screen. There we go.
I'm pulling up the stream on my TV so that I can actually see what's going on. Go to subscriptions because of course I'm subscribed. Okay.
Ren Salentino says CC3 prints. Oh.
So let's see. The first one is actually not Star Wars related. So hopefully it worked. I did hide a few slides because this was like we talked for an hour and a half about just the art prints, Chris and I. So I did remove some to make it more like Star Wars focused, but I know not everyone like just collects Star Wars art prints. So I did include some that are not Star Wars related that I thought was still impressive. So like this one. So this was a timed release by Chris Valentine. It did include 2 different variants. I think one was a black and white variant, and then the other one he called a museum variant. So the museum variant had kind of like a cracked varnish finish to it, almost like the antique works of the masters, that over time the varnish over the painting has cracked. And I think that tonally it was a little different. But he said that he was inspired by the masters like Raphael. I'm not a huge fan of the Snyderverse, if I'm quite honest. But I mean, I think this was stunning. And Chris Valentine, if you remember, is the same artist that did that Rogue One print that I showed on your show, that a lot of people were able to jump on, which was great because that one was really well received. I haven't framed that one yet, but this one's 24 by 36. And I think, oh no, it wasn't a timed edition. I'm sorry. So the regular was an edition of 250, and then I think both the variants were an edition of 100. I think I'm confusing the timed edition with the Rogue One. But yeah, I thought this one was really nice and worth sharing. The next one. So, of course, I'm a Batman fan, so I just want to show these quickly. These are by Jake Kanto. This was the timed edition. So these were available. Actually, they're available tonight until midnight Eastern Standard Time. So I think you still have a little bit of time to get this. This is the timed edition. So again, 24 by 36. And then these were the variants. I really liked this one, this unmasked variant. Because I feel like we haven't seen a lot of Batman art with Robert Pattinson unmasked. This one was limited to 275. Yeah, you have 45 minutes, I guess, if you want this one. So hop on over to Bottleneck. So these releases, by the way, are part of their celebration for New York Comic Con. So a lot of them were comic heavy, but also they're celebrating their 10th anniversary. And I get a lot of my prints from Bottleneck, and I've been collecting art prints from them for almost 10 years. So I think that's kind of cool. The next one, so this was a very subtle variant, limited to 150. I put an inset of the regular just so you can see the difference. So this one has more of a kind of like French white or cream colored background to it, as opposed to the black of the original. So not all variants are very obvious, and so sometimes they're subtle, and I think it can be kind of cash grabby. But I think all of these were pretty impressive. I think anyone would be happy to own any of them. And next up, so our first Star Wars one of the night. So this was called Trench Run by Jason Reich. I thought this was really cool, very vibrant. Now I did hear some complaints that people thought it was maybe a little too childish looking. Like it looks like a poster you'd see maybe in a like tacked onto someone's wall as opposed to a piece of art. But art is so subjective. This one is the regular, and again, it's a big one. It's 24 by 36 and was limited to 350. They also did this variant, so I was pretty impressed with the variant. I didn't get it, even though I might regret that, honestly, because I think I do have the space for something like this. But this just is the black and white with pops of color, as I refer to it, which is a pretty common form of variant. Same size. This was limited to 150. So it's either this or Matt Ferguson New Hope art print that I am planning on putting in one space I have in my like black and white kind of gallery wall plan. So that's where I might have regrets if I decide to get this, but Matt Ferguson is my favorite, so I think he's going to win out. And then this was pretty interesting. So I think it's been like maybe a year or 2 years that they've been experimenting with this lenticular format. So this is a GIF, obviously, to show the effect, but it's kind of that plastic. I think it's the 4mm polystyrene, same size, so it's 24 by 36. These look very impressive in light boxes. So my friend Mike Costa over at Collecting Enabled, he has, I think, 2 light boxes, and he did manage to grab one of these because they look pretty great. This one was limited to 100. I think sometimes it could look very gimmicky, but with this, I think, style of art, with it being the trench run, it really kind of makes a lot of sense that it's a dogfight. There's another lenticular I'll show you towards the end that I think doesn't work like this one does. And then, of course, they did the variant of it as well. And this one was limited to 50. So, yeah, I do prefer the variant, the contrast on the black and white. And then, so I think her art tends to be pretty busy, but this was her finishing out the trilogy. And I would say of the 3, this was probably my favorite. So this is a 17 color screen print with metallic inks. So I imagine in person it would look fantastic as well. The metallic ink tends to be pretty subtle, so it's something that you kind of have to appreciate in person. Again, 24 by 36, and this was limited to 100. It does have a lot going on, but I think the more I look at it, the more I appreciate it. Just the color story, and the little, like, I mean, come on, it's got an Ewok and a Wookiee, and Leia looking like a badass. So like instant props. So I liked this one. I didn't get this one, or any of the ones I'm going to show you. Actually, the one I plan on getting is going to release tomorrow, and it's not Star Wars, but this one was tempting. And then the variant is just a little subtly different. So it's got more of a sepia tone to it. So this one has less color. It's a 13 color screen print with metallic inks, same size, and limited to 200 as opposed to.
That variant works better.
Yeah, I think it doesn't seem as like jarring because it's just as busy.
It's better contrast.
Yeah. I think it's easier to focus on the individual pieces with less color than the other one.
Yeah, I like with this contrast, you can see everything a bit better.
Yeah, It's much
Yep.
better decision.
Yeah, it's everything is a bit more visible. You get a chance, like I said, if there's things hidden, this brings it out.
Yeah, and I love the warmth of it in certain areas that kind of like cause your eye to bounce around. And next up, so I just want to feature this because I thought this was pretty impressive looking. So this is Batman by Rory Kurtz, limited to 375, 24 by 36, and they didn't do any variants of this.
They should have did a variant where they took the title out.
Yeah, or I'm actually surprised they didn't do just like a black and white version because that's happened a lot. But and this is very purple, which I think could be kind of not polarizing, but it's definitely bold in a room. And also, it's funny. I think this and a few other releases that we've had in the last year or two. I do think because I'm like, why is Batman suddenly getting a resurgence in art print releases? I think it's because of the rumors of him showing up in, or I think it's confirmed in The Flash, and of course the canceled Batgirl movie. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of Batman. We're seeing a lot of Batman Returns because they're anticipating, or they anticipated, like a better, like a more of appreciation for Michael Keaton with those new releases. So I think this is just one of those to add to the litany of Batman releases we've had this year. And then,
That's good.
yep, I threw this in here. It actually kind of reminded me of like the pose that Mario was doing with his Miles Morales. So this is Spider-Man by Raid 71, or Chris Thornley, I think is his actual name. But it's on the smaller side, so 18 by 24, and this was limited to 150 and did not have any variants. But I like the colors of this. And it's not as like dark and macabre, which tends to be my kind of art prints, honestly. Brooding, dark brooding, and vampy. So this is like a different, okay, nice change of pace. And then next up, so this was by Matt Ferguson. It released today. Again, Batman 89. So this one is 24 by 36 and was limited to 225. It is a lithograph as opposed to a screen print or a giclée. So it's only slightly different than, like, say, a screen print. But what I think is interesting is Matt Ferguson's been experimenting with like UV spot treatments or varnish. So the moon has like a UV varnish layer to it that makes it it gives it a sheen. So as you're like it gives it texture. And I think that's kind of cool. Also, this was a homage and not too entirely different to the little inset photo I included, which he released 9 years ago with Bottleneck. That one was 12 by, I think, 24. So this was, I wouldn't say like a reprint, but incredibly close to one that he's done before. I think Jason was on the fence as to whether or not he was going to buy this, but it was very tempting for me. If it wasn't so large, I probably would have gotten it, honestly. And then next up, so these haven't released yet that I'm aware of. Hence, the photos are not fantastic for it. So Pablo Oliveira did this scene from the famous introduction of Ahsoka from The Mandalorian. It's called Duel for Destiny. So the top one that's kind of a greenish tone is the regular, and it's limited to 150. The center one that's more of a purpley tone is the variant A, that's limited to 100, and then the black and white is limited to 50. I like this. It's not one I'm going to get. I do feel like maybe things would have been different had they released this a little closer to when the episode came out.
Yeah.
Another artist I like, named Mark Englert, he did basically the same scene, like not too long after the episode. So I don't know how popular this would be, but I think maybe if you're hyped for the Ahsoka series, you'd be down for it. But Pablo Oliveira, I like a lot of his stuff. I don't have that much of it, but he's definitely one to watch. He's also done a lot of like fan art himself. He did an excellent like Greedo and Bosk that I don't know if will ever be produced, but it seems like he's genuinely a Star Wars fan and just likes doing it for the sake of doing it, whether Disney's going to pay him to do it or not, which is kind of cool. But looks like the chat agrees that this one between variant B, A, and B.
Variant
And the black
B.
and whites, yeah, the black and white ones that he's done have always been really limited. I have the one he did for Boba on Throne. So it's the same dimensions, but it's Fennec and Boba Fett on Jabba's throne. And I don't know if I have space for it anymore, honestly, since I bought it, but we'll see. And then next up. So this one seemed pretty popular when I was looking at comments. So this is The Hunters by Vance Kelly. Again, it's a big boy, 24 by 36. This was the regular. It was limited to 275. Now, what are your thoughts? Because I know, like Chris said, he wasn't crazy about the perspective, given that Slave One is shown in the corner. But to be fair, I think he's a snob when it comes to ships, because he collects a lot of studio scale models. But this was one of the ones I was, I think, a little the most impressed with of the releases we've seen so far.
It's just the nostalgia of it automatically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the actual bounty hunters I wanted to see in the film. Yeah, I mean, in the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
It is odd placement of the Slave One. I would have changed that. Otherwise, I dig it. I probably would have made the other bounty hunters, Dengar and them, maybe like a quarter scale larger at the bottom and brought them down a bit. And they could have done something else with Slave One. They could have even flipped the Slave One face forward and had that as the backdrop instead of the sun.
Right.
And had the dome of the Slave One. But, you know, I still dig it though.
Yeah, the colors are great. I do prefer the variant, which I don't remember if they did one variant or two. So this they did in the lenticular. So this is what I was talking about, where I think this one, it just looks too gimmicky. As opposed to the trench run, which I think makes a little more sense because it is a dogfight, so it is a little more dynamic kind of piece. Whereas this seems like, I wouldn't say this is certainly not a museum pose, but it's not as dynamic as ships, like, you know, fighting in the trenches. But this was limited to 100, and then this was the variant.
There you go.
I preferred it.
Take Slave One out, and that's perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't have. I liked the colors of the regular, but there's something about the, like, it's something, everything gets anchored in that black around it.
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, I think the majority said that they preferred this one to the regular when I was looking at comments. So this one was limited to 150. And then they did do another lenticular, but it was not the variant, so it was a little more colorful actually. And this was one
it's got an Asian vibe going.
Yeah, almost like manga is not the right word, but like there's something about the colors.
It's Chinese. It's like a Craft Attacker Hidden Dragon type of Rising Sun type shit.
Yeah, I could see that for sure, especially with the red towards the bottom, like the gradient. And this one was limited to 75. And then I think that's actually it's not the last one I have. Never mind. How could I forget? So this is what I'm gonna try to buy tomorrow. So, but this is my dilemma with these. So I was hoping that they were going to be offering a set, but they're not. So I think I might just have a chance to get one of these as opposed to both, which I guess is okay. I was afraid if I didn't get the set, I would regret it later. But this is Batman and Joker. They're giclées. They're 13 by 19. So that's smaller side with his portraits. These are by Gabs. But if you mat these evenly, they will fit in a standard 18 by 24 frame, which is what I do with all my 13 by 19s. Each are limited to 100, and they're going to be releasing tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I'm sorry, 10 o'clock my time, noon Eastern Standard Time. Now, I will say, I love the Batman. I like the Joker. I don't think I'm in love with the Joker print. I included a little inset that's not it's very small. I imagine you can't see it very well. But in the bottom left corner, that is the first Heath Ledger Joker art print that Gabs did. And I do
Mhm.
think I prefer that a lot better.
That one's
Than,
that one's
than
better
this
than
new
these
one.
other two. Yeah.
Yeah, and I looked at the reference photo he used even for this new pose, and it definitely looks like the reference, but um, it just doesn't do it for me for some reason. So I
Mhm.
do think I'm just gonna go for the Batman in this instance.
Yeah, that Batman's pretty cool, especially because the cowl on that suit is there's certain angles where it really looks bad, and that is a great angle for hiding those weaknesses in the shape of the cowl.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that is all she wrote.
I mean, it's hey.
Yeah,
I mean, that's yeah. I actually this one right here, yeah, it's a good, especially if you're getting, for me, like I'll have, I can't wait. Well, I already have this version, like it's like the DX19. I actually have this version, in hot scale. I mean, in 1/6 scale, from Hot Toys, and then in arts, of course, they're going to release their Joker soon. So this would be like a good print to have. Just to kind of highlight. But yeah, this is dope. This is definitely dope.
And they are on the smaller side, and um, of course, we're all Star Wars fans here.
Mhm,
Gabs
mhm.
has done a number of Star Wars portraits in the same style. So he did a Mace
Mhm.
Windu that's on
Yeah.
like purple. So the
Mhm.
background's purple, everything's purple. That's
Yeah.
pretty great. I have his Krennic. So he did a Krennic with like a gray background,
Yeah.
and he'll definitely be continuing that series. And I think these are small enough that you could put them behind a display shelf and still have enough time, space for your figures to shine. Um,
Yeah.
and I am actually getting. You could see behind me where that little Joker bust is on top of the
Mhm.
cabinet. My sideshow Batman Begins premium format, the one that people keep making fun of the pose, that's shipping like I think tomorrow. So
Mm. Yes, yes. You are falling down that rabbit hole.
yeah, I'm hoping I could just pose the cape a little better than I've seen in recent pictures. But so Ren says, "What's the paper he uses to draw Batman and Joker?" I don't know off the top of my head. I know it tends to be he uses watercolor, and then he does, I think, modify these a little bit and like clean them up a little bit in Photoshop. But
Mhm.
he says on his website I think exactly what materials he uses. I don't know if he says exactly what kind of paper he uses. Um, but if you are on his website, feel free to take a look at the or I can Google it actually. The Jack Nicholson Joker art print he did.
Mhm.
I have one of those, and it's easily top 10 in the top 10 art prints I own. I have seen in my life. I'd say that one's incredible. I have his signed artist proof from him. He was kind enough to send it to me from Poland. Um,
Mhm.
that Jack Nicholson Joker, the one he did I think earlier this year, is banging. It's gorgeous.
That seems dope. Like it
Mhm.
looks super, super, super dope. Why
So
am I
thank you
can't?
everyone for sticking with me while I ranted about art prints for a little bit.
No, it's
That's
dope.
why we're here. That's definitely why we're here, and that's what makes it so dope. And Vinny, I know you said you wanted to show a few.
Yeah, sure. If you want to
Uh,
throw up the ones that I had in your that sent your messenger, I could just zip through them like it's just I can just read off the names. I don't have to break down opinions about them. I could just show people some
yeah,
prints.
let me because I gotta actually find them real quick to bring up.
Yeah.
Give me a second here. Just gotta kind of go through. I have them here. I had them from the other day. Here we
Yeah.
go. I think I got them. And these are the ones you got from.
Yep, these are all New York Comic Con prints I picked up this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. So this is a rehash on, pretty much. No, this is Star Wars Senate show. I know what people while we're here, but we're gonna show some prints today.
Mhm.
It just makes so much sense to kind of show off, some of the collection and stuff like that we actually had here, or that we purchased. I'm not gonna show mine, but I'm gonna let Vinny show his because they're super dope. So I'll definitely bring those up here really quick.
This is Spawn by Ken Lashley. You just cycle through them, just read them off.
Hold on, really quick. Just want to go back here. Yeah, we got Spawn.
That's Invincible by Ryan Notley. Got to meet him. Cool cat. Invincible. If you're a comic fan, grab the compendiums. They're one of the greatest reads you'll ever have.
Definitely. Next up, this is like one of my favorite ones. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Daredevil by Vincenzo Riccardi. He has such a great first name.
Yeah, that's dope. It's super dope.
And that is Catwoman by I'm gonna butcher her name, Belen Ortega. Fan of our work.
Figured that was gonna come soon.
Yeah. This is Savage Land Rogue by Lobos.
Hold up. Where we at? Hold up, it just dipped me out. That wasn't the last one. Hold on.
And that's a Wonder Woman by Nisha Lee.
Okay, we got that. We did that one already.
This is Sabretooth by Maria Wolf.
Oh wow, it's different.
Yeah, she's super amazing.
Definitely a different version.
And Silver Surfer by Alex Maleev. He's an amazing watercolor guy, and being a watercolor guy myself, he's the man. And this is Wanda, of course, by Frank Cho. And Frank is known for his hilarious, commissions where he adds like little jokes and stuff. So this is Scarlet Witch, is the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher at Hogwarts. He has an amazing sense of humor. I love his stuff. So it was real fun chopping it up with him for sure. But
this is crazy.
Yeah.
I love Hermione.
It's just hilarious, man. It's just
that's just your piece. One of your pieces.
Yeah, that's a Vincent Dunn.
Definitely, that's a Vincent Dunn, man. So definitely, man, appreciate that. Thank you for coming here, showing off some of the prints. TC, also thank you for actually coming here, showing off some prints again. Segment. This is the one of many segments that we're going to have from CC. So definitely, thank you for coming through with those pieces. Guys, want to call it a night from there. Like we had a nice little almost 2-hour show talking about Andor, showing off some prints.
Yes,
so definitely we're going to tune out. I don't want to start with you first. What you got coming up?
Well, guys, check me out on my channel, Positive Fandom, where I have my Sunday brunch show at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we do all the parlay in the fandom. If you are a creator, come on the channel and we will promote you there. So certainly do check that out. And also check me out on the PGS, the Post Geek Singularity, for my other show, Ladies of the PGS, on Monday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about sex and everything sex related in science fiction, fantasy, horror, and other things as well, but mainly sex. So definitely check my show out on the PGS.
Talk about all the good things and the bad things.
Yes. And also check me out here on the 1/6 Scale Man Network, either on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels, here on the 1/6 Scale Man Network. And also you can check me out with Lael while we stream with Robert Meyer Burnett on our show Midnight Musings, which is usually on Friday nights at midnight or Saturday night at midnight on the Post Geek Singularity. So I may be on Midnight's Edge in the Morning tomorrow. I'm not sure, but I might be. So you could check me out there at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well.
Definitely excited about that. So if you haven't already, you already know what it is. PGS All Stars Positive Fandom. All day, every day. Great content. Subscribe if you haven't. Next up, we got CC 3PO coming through as always with the prints. Like now, see, the thing is, I hate it because we just came back from Comic-Con, man, and it's like the amount of money that we actually spent on those prints, and then now seeing that, that Return of the Jedi print and then that Batman, I'm like, yo, yeah. Yeah. Come on, man. You're trying to break me. But anyway, CC, thank you for coming through. What you got coming up?
So we do have group therapy tomorrow night, and then I think and then of course Andor next week. So that's been fun. It's been a bit of a struggle for me ever since I've been sick, just getting up at 1 a.m. just to do that. But with episodes like the one we had this week, it feels a little more worth it. But yeah, so if you do want to watch the episode live with us, we'll be doing that technically Wednesday morning, as soon as the episode's available on Disney Plus, and then we'll be chatting about it afterwards.
Yeah, again, this stupid computer is acting stupid. Here we go. If you haven't already, CC3PO and Rogue 16 on YouTube and IG, definitely. And you'll see her back here on Uncivilized, basically showing off some more prints, trying to break people's pockets. That's just how it be. Pretty sure people are going to be spending some money. Although that Batman piece has got to be mine, man, because that's just going to make the most sense. So yes, and that Return of the Jedi. The second one, in that as a matter of fact, that Ahsoka print, and that's like, B was dope. Anyway, thank you for coming through. As always, again, if you haven't already, make sure you follow her. And great content always. Every week, bringing it. Definitely. Next up, we got my man Vinny. What's going on with you, bro?
Oh man, just Inktober. So for those who've been following, y'all know about Inktober. So won't dive into it again, but that's where all my free time has been going. So we're on day 13, and got a little over 2 weeks to go of more of art piece every day for a correlating prompt word, and just been doing my best to come up with enough free time during the day to churn out a piece every day. So I've done a couple Star Wars related pieces so far. So if you want to check out the work, go to Vincent Dunn Art. It's on my Instagram, and want any of the pieces or any of the other stuff, my store's there too. Feel free to stop on by, jump in the DMs, talk about anything that you need, and I'll hook you up. And other than that, Comic Book Talk with Friends on Mondays, where we talk about physical comic books, comic book shows, movies, etc. And as always, Uncivilized Scoundrels, especially talking about these amazing Andor episodes. And we got Black Adam coming up next week too. And so a lot going on, lots of reading to catch up on, lots of drawing to do. But there's always Star Wars, pieces coming down the pipeline all the time. So just excited for all that, and always happy to be here, talk Star Wars with these fine ladies and gentlemen.
Definitely, man. Thank you for being here. Always done arts on IG. And his store link is there as well. If you want to pick up some pieces, make sure you check that out. We will also be back here on Monday for Comic Book Talk with Friends. Definitely to follow up. Can't wait for that. Yep. So make sure you do subscribe. Also, if you haven't already become a subscriber or member of the 16 Scale Man YouTube channel, make sure you do. Tomorrow morning, I will be up at It'll be my first time, 7 a.m. I'm actually going to be interviewing Marvel Les from Australia. She's a collector, and I'll actually have her on the show. We'll talk shop and also talk about our experiences, her experience in Australia, me living there for 10 years, my experience there as well. So it's going to be incredible. So tune in for that if you're up that early, make sure you do. Also, we have Figure Flex Friday tomorrow. Me, Loco Lou, Luminar in the building. So definitely stay tuned for that. And on Sunday, Collectors Lounge International. Definitely we'll be talking shop, all the releases with those all around the world, all collectors, basically international. So definitely make sure you do that. Again, thank you for the great show, everybody out in the chat, for tuning in and being with us for these 2 hours. I'm telling you, it's just 2 hours of pleasure talking about the stuff we love when it comes to Star Wars all day, every day. Oh, we got a $1.99 super chat. Thank you for coming through. My man, what is that? Well, I got it. Come on, computer. Don't act up on me. Just
DJN.
Yeah, we got DJN with $1.99. Andor is beautiful and cinematic tale. Love it. Thank you, bro. Like, definitely, we thank you for that. We got Loco Lou coming through. What's poppin', people? Yeah, man. Thank you for coming through, that, bro. But anyway, always thank you guys for being here tonight and just tuning in. Be back next week for episode 7. Who knows what we're going to expect, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be an amazing show. So again, definitely tune in. But definitely peace and love to everybody out there. Remember to be kind, and always and forever stay strictly uncivilized. Peace.
So uncivilized.